Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go over our Forex trades for Friday, the last day of the week, May 2nd. Before we do that, I just want to touch base about the non-farm payrolls number that came out this morning at 8:30, which is the most important number of every month. It includes the non-farm payrolls, which is basically the unemployment rate and how many jobs are being created. Just going to touch base it on briefly. The government, the Labor Bureau of Statistics, announced 288,000 new jobs were created in the month of April, which blew away estimates. At first, everybody was all excited. It also said unemployment rate dropped from 6.7 to 6.3%. Again, everybody was excited. But once the smart money, if you want to call it, or the analysts, the highly intelligent people on Wall Street looked at the number, right off the bat, you know that unemployment can't drop 0.4% on 288,000 jobs. It takes well more than that to drop almost a half of a percent. It takes over 1 million jobs to do that. So you have to look, all right, well, why is the government, or I shouldn't say why is the government, but why these numbers being reported the way they are? And the simple fact is, once you dig into the results, the labor participation rate is at 62.8%. It's the lowest level since 1978. 806,000 people left the workforce in the month of April. Now, you just think about that for a minute. That's almost 1 million people who gave up looking for a job. Now, the government will tell you that those people, those 806,000 people, just segued into retirement. That's kind of hard to believe, right? So this 806,000 people, maybe the government wants us to believe that those 806,000 people had an uncle or a parent die or somebody and left them a fortune, and now they don't have to work anymore. Or maybe those 806,000 people won the lottery and they don't have to work anymore. Or maybe those 806,000 people somehow came across a bunch of money and don't have to work anymore. We all know the answer to that's all absolutely not. So the simple fact is, those 806,000 people, their unemployment benefits ran out. They can no longer file for an extension because they probably have already played that card. So the government just simply doesn't count them anymore. They could be, it could be a 30-year-old male or female that desperately wants to work, that desperately needs to work, but government just says, oh yeah, they just retired. So they're no longer even counted in the labor force. So it's a complete joke. So with that, minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, all the euphoria of the great 288,000 job left the marketplace. This was before stock market opened, so futures initially jumped on the number, came right back down. Market opened relatively flat for the day. Same thing happened with currencies, so you'll see the action in the charts that we're going to show you. We're not going to hold a position through that number, whether it's a scalp position or a swing position. We're certainly not going to trade a scalp trade going into the biggest economic number of the month, and even a swing trade, we're going to be flat. So we did have 3 positions heading into that number, or I should say, early this morning. We did get out, half an hour, 45 minutes or so, whatever it was, prior to the number being released. We had 3 trades, picked up 9.4 pips. As it turned out, we would have been on the right side of those of the economic number, at least the initial move. So we could have made a lot more, but that's just gambling. You might as well just go to Vegas or Atlantic City and put your chips on red or black at that point, and that's not our MO. So we'll go over the trades here in no particular order. You're looking at a trade here was the euro to the Australian dollar. We were long this 1.49841. You could see here it was trying to pop. It couldn't. It started to fall down. So we took the loss. Took a small loss, relatively small loss, 8.8 pips. It's small when you're considering it's more of a swing trade. So adjusted for size, you're looking at a loss of 3.5 pips. And this is the initial move down here, right at 8:30 when the number was released. So we would have been on the right side of it. Excuse me, this is the initial pop here, not this. This move came down right before the number, and then the number came out, and this is that huge pop, but then a reversal came. So we would have been right if we would have held it, but again, that's not our MO. Euro to CAD, we're short this 1.52157. This was, we were actually short this for a day or so, a swing trade. Just really didn't materialize much. Picked up 21 pips on it, and then boom, the big fall comes down with that economic number. But then quickly reverses, like I said, a little while later. So, but on this we picked up 21 pips, adjusted for size, it's 8.4 pips. And then the last one is the Australian dollar, US dollar. Short this 0.92683. Again, covered right ahead, a half hour, 45 minutes or so ahead of the economic number. Boom, look at that huge drop. That was the initial reaction, and you can see here an hour or so later she just reversed. But again, we're not going to do that. We picked up 11.4 pips. Adjusted for size, that's 4.5 pips. So, we'll take it. We'll move on. 9.4, nothing great. But we'll move on to Monday, and it's the beginning of the month, so we're just starting out. Bottom line is it's profitable, so that's the main thing. So we'll take it. We didn't take a whole bunch of risk. If you hold this position into this economic number, what if it's the reverse and boom, she rockets on you? You're going to get squeezed on it big time. You might be risking 50 pips or so and get stopped out. So that's just not something that we do. Smaller economic numbers will hold. But a big one like this, that's totally not going to hold into it. So that's it. We'll wrap it up. If you're waiting for signals, they'll be going out if any get developed. Although it is Friday, it's only a few hours at 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. Only a few hours left for trading for the week. So even if a signal goes out, we would suggest you don't take it. And we'll move on to next week. All right. So have a great weekend, and we'll be back next time we get some trades.